Welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Today, it's an unfortunate video, but it's good to keep people posted, keep them updated on what's going on in the hobby, what's going on in the community, and it's really unfortunate. Occasionally, you get the ultimate scam artists in this hobby that get away with things for a couple of years or maybe even a couple of months, but that is plenty of time to do a lot of damage. In this case, we're going to talk about a story that has just surfaced. I don't even know if anybody has covered it or talked about it, but two men in Washington have been charged with basically conning $2 million worth of Pokemon cards in fraudulent counterfeit casings and counterfeit certifications from PSA. So they've been printing their own certification labels, and this is kind of fitting because I just picked up one of my ultimate grails, and just as an example, this card is a perfect example, a first edition PSA 9 Charizard. If this card was truly a PSA 7 or say 8, it would be worth probably $8,000 or $9,000. But if this card had a fake certification, say, and they had printed one and encapsulated it in a new casing, then this card would be, they could print it out as a 9, and now boom, the card is worth 4 or 5 times the value of a lower grade. And that's essentially what these guys did. If they printed out a 10 label for this card and it sold as a 10, it would sell for likely $150, maybe $120,000 to $150,000 more than what I purchased it for, which is basically what they did with one of the cards, which was a Michael Jordan card. So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. I usually don't talk about this stuff, but somebody DM'd me on my Instagram. Yo, shout out to the homie for DMing me this story, because even though I haven't been like scammed in any way in a long time, one of my first experiences collecting high-end products, items in this hobby was a counterfeit gold strip Pokemon theme deck. And it was made by a guy that was also Arjun Dillon, who is also fake stamping first edition cards. So this is not the first time I've encountered something that's like this, that's really scandalous, but let's go ahead and get into it. So two men from Washington were arrested Thursday for their involvement in selling fake sports cards. So this was sports cards and Pokemon cards, but still, some of the people that helped in the investigation, including a small kind of mom and pop shop, Pokemon trading card shop, sports card, Pokemon card shop. They were also victims, and they actually helped in this investigation with surveillance, phone numbers. Dude, how stupid are people? If you are going to carry out something like this is not advice for the scammers, but at least don't be so stupid. They literally, the exact people scamming everybody were selling the cards themselves, not even selling it through someone else. I'm guessing that's so that they didn't have any loose ends, really. It's really sad, and it's really ridiculous because the guys who did this, one of them I don't know much about, but the other one, Iosif, I don't know much about him. So Iosif Bondarchuk, and he was 37, and Anthony Curcio of 43. Now, Anthony Curcio he was a football player, he was a star athlete, and then he took a dive and robbed a bank, which is pretty badass. I'm sorry, it's pretty badass. But he robbed a bank. He got caught, unfortunately, and I think he spent 5 years in prison. So he got out, he turned his life around. He was an author of children's books. He was teaching classes on basically what not to do. And there are a lot of people who really make a great impact in the world after they go through something like that. Unfortunately, I guess he continued operating the same way he had been in the past, and he slipped up and he saw an opportunity to capitalize, and he did. Now, something like this, I feel like I would have noticed if I was buying a card and spending this kind of money, but some of his buyers are people that are very wealthy, okay? If you're buying a Michael Jordan card for $170,000, then you're pretty well off. And we're talking $2 million worth of fraud being committed here. Okay, so let's look into this a little bit more. $2 million scheme over 2 years. So they did this from 2022 to now. United States Attorney of the Southern District of New York and the Federal Bureau of Investigation announced that Anthony Curcio, 43, of Redmond, and Iosif Bondarchuk, 37, of Lake Stevens, are accused of a fraudulent scheme to defraud buyers and marketplaces because they did sell on a big marketplace to purchase the cards at false and inflated prices. And this is what's been recorded, right? This is not what we know. This guy could have been doing stuff like this way long before the time frame that they have evidence on, right? Like this could have been for years. So this is just what we know of, right? Probably just scratching the surface. According to the indictment hold on, let's see. The attorney's office said low to mid-grade cards, basically what I'm talking about, PSA 5, 6, 7, 8. Low to mid-grade cards were given high-grade ratings from a reputable card authentication company, Company 1, PSA, which buyers paid more money for the cards. According to the indictment, from 2022 to 2024, Curcio and Bondarchuk tried to deprive victims of over $2 million, okay, through their sales and attempted sales by misrepresenting the grades of the cards. The pair allegedly sold and tried to sell fake cards at in-person card shops, auctions, and card shows, and Curcio sold the cards online using third-party sellers. Interesting. Third-party sellers like maybe eBay, maybe other platforms, PWCC, or maybe even consigners who didn't even realize that these cards were fake because they're just the middlemen. Even maybe consigners handled these cards without even knowing it, which could be make it even stickier than it is. They also reportedly used fake names and identities, obviously, in order to conceal their involvement in the scheme. But at some point, they weren't doing that, obviously, because it traced back to them. And this isn't the first thing today. There's also a lot of drama. I checked Verbank Facebook Pokemon group. There seems to be a lot of drama with some more well-known sellers, and just because I don't really want to get myself in the middle of any of that, I'm not going to point out their names, but these are people that I've actually worked with, and some sellers that I've honestly had my doubts about, but I'm not going to bring up those names. But apparently there's just a lot of drama going on right now on the secondary market between private buyers and sellers, and this looks like it's one of the bigger things, so I'm covering this today. But there's some other stuff that I was going to talk about, but I'm just going to sidestep that for now because we're talking about this. They also used fake names and identities. Curcio had gone by the name Brendan Woolley, and Bondarchuk went by the name Joe Bondarchuk, but he still used his last name? That is why. Okay. One of the fraudulent cards sold in the alleged scheme was a misrepresented 1986 and incredible card, Fleer Michael Jordan number 57 rookie card. Anybody would be happy to have that kind of card in their collection. I'm not even a big sports guy, but I idolize Michael Jordan and have collected Jordans for a long time and his jerseys. It was graded as an 8 with an estimated market value between only $6,000 and $7,000, but sold. The indictment said the same card, when graded as a 10 by PSA, had an estimated market value between $185,000 to $203,000, and I believe it sold for $171.7 thousand. Wow. What did they do with all that money? That's what I want to know. I want to know what they did with that money. I know it's going off topic, but I'm curious, like, what did you do with all that money, Curcio? Like, where did it go? Like, what things, he has these lectures that have been clipped in here to this Fox News video, and he has lectures where he talks about, money and material aren't everything. So, just hiding in plain sight, I guess. Sneaky. The two also sold cards of several high-profile athletes, like Tom Brady, Nolan Ryan, Larry Bird, Julius Erving, and Magic Johnson, in addition to several Pokemon cards, including Charizards, Venusaurs, first editions, sold as 10s. Some of the other cards Curcio and Bondarchuk tried to sell were 1999 Venusaur and 1999 Charizard cards. In 2023, an undercover officer purchased the misrepresented Venusaur from them for $10,500. Wow. As alleged, Anthony Curcio and Iosif Bondarchuk carried out a brazen nationwide fraud scheme involving valuable sports cards and trading cards to deceive buyers in marketplaces, ultimately amassing over $2 million, said Damian Williams, United States Attorney. Thanks to our law enforcement partners, the dedicated prosecutors of this office, yada, yada, yada. And the victims that came forward really feel terrible for those people. Just stuff like that. There's no coming back from stuff like that. If you aren't recompensated, there's no coming back from stuff like that. If you try, so our message today is clear. No matter what product you're selling, if you try to deceive the public to make money, you will be brought to justice. I think for anybody watching this channel, for this to spread out, I think would be good for the community to know that law enforcement does take this stuff seriously. And if you screw over one of us, we're going to find you, and the entire community will swarm on it. There's already people like Rattle, people like Opossum pointing stuff out, always staying on top of this stuff. This community really has way more protection now and coverage than it used to, with the help of YouTube and these platforms giving everybody a voice. A brand protection team with PSA, third-party authentication, and grading company had been working with the FBI and building a case against Curcio, as many of the cards have been sold in fake PSA holders. The company said anyone who purchased a PSA-graded item and would like to confirm the authenticity can visit their customer request center and complete a brand protection request. Curcio and Bondarchuk were both charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 1 count of wire fraud, commit conspiracy, and 1 count of wire fraud. Confirmed. The pair each face a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison if convicted. Now, I don't think they're going to get 20 years for this. I think they're probably going to get 5 years for this max. Maybe not even that, because it is involving money and fraud in that sense, and no one's actually physically getting hurt. There's no actual violence. I'm not a lawyer, so what do I know? But typically, when we have crimes like this, that is exactly how I feel. Aspen, my daughter, is right with us. She is like, unacceptable. This fraud is unacceptable. Department of Justice confirmed in 2008, Curcio pepper sprayed an armored car guard outside of a bank. Pepper spray? Really? And then escaped down a creek in an inner tube with 400 grand. Jeez, this guy, wild. He was arrested. And spent 5 years in prison. Curcio, at 2014, at the time, was speaking to schools whenever he could about drug use that contributed to his criminal life. Just very sad, and I definitely sympathize with that. I know it's difficult with different perspectives to say, oh, this person's just a total scumbag, but you know, there are things that lead up to this kind of behavior, and I'd be interested to know like what happened to him that made him go down this road. Seattle spoke to Don Joss, the owner of DJ Sports Cards in Renton. Joss tells us his business got hit in the scam, costing his business thousands of dollars. Joss said he helped the investigators with the case, so that's great. We had ID, we had video, we had all kinds of proof from when he walked in, the day he walked in and made transactions. We had his original phone number and all kinds of information we used as evidence that we sent to the FBI. Right on. So yeah, that's about all I got for you guys today. Pretty crazy stuff. We do have a mail day video coming up. I got something that I'm considering selling, considering adding to my collection, and also I picked up something that I've been looking for a long time and finally added to my collection recently, as well as I've been telling you guys when I got all the cases in, we would do a video and I'd show you all the cases that I actually picked up. So yeah, that'll be coming up soon. Also, we need to talk about some products. Mainly, I'm gonna talk about the Charizard UPC coming up. It seems like it's finally the time for everything in Sword and Shield to start moving. And guys, when is the Charizard UPC finally gonna start moving? Additionally, I want to start taking a look at what's going on with alt arts, what's going on with modern alt arts. I've been skeptical throughout this whole boom, throughout this whole bullish cycle, and I think we're going to get a correction. No, I don't think we're going to get a crash, but I think we'll get a healthy correction, as most markets have some kind of healthy correction. So I want to talk about that in the coming videos. Anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Let me know what you think in the comments below of this crazy con. $2 million of conning. This is why a lot of people are very nervous about buying high-end Pokemon cards. I get messages, DMs, comments all the time that say, Orion, I would love to go after the cards that you go after, but I am too nervous that I would get scammed, ripped off, or taken advantage of, and I just don't know how you can go through some of these transactions, especially with something like this Charizard recently. Easily could have been scammed out on this Charizard. I went through PayPal goods and services and decided to send an invoice on my own with the exact cert number, which I had checked in PSA's database and checked when it was graded, yada yada yada. And I am 1000% sure that mine is not a scandalous Charizard card. But I will say, a lot of the times this happens with authentic cards, but either the stamp is fake or the certification is fake. And of course, I've been able to compare this Charizard cert because as soon as my friend sent me this article, which he's a lawyer, so I think he found this really interesting and wanted to send it to me. But which is dope, because if I ever need some advice, some lawyer advice on the fly, I already have my hometown lawyer, but I'll have him who I can talk to in the future. But he was interested, and I think he was also concerned because I did buy such a high-end premium vintage card like this Charizard recently. So anyways, appreciate you for sending me that. I hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of content and being updated on some current news in the hobby. Peace out.